How much do you actually need to retire securely? You may have clicked on this video because you're wondering that question for yourself and you're not sure where you come up with the right answer for your situation. And over the years, I've seen that people often come up with the wrong answer because the calculators that they're using are missing an important piece. So in today's video, I want to talk about three things. Number one, a simple formula you can use to estimate your number. Number two, how your retirement age changes that number. And number three, the missing piece that you want to make sure that you don't leave out when you calculate your number, because it can amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. Now let's start by talking about the formula that you can use to estimate your number. The first thing you've got to do is know how much you want to spend in retirement. What is going to cover your basic lifestyle expenses, the things that come up over the years, such as new cars or replacing the air conditioner or doing other maintenance to the home, all of the things that can come up over time with regularity, but they're not an expense each and every year. And then how much do you need to cover travel and hobbies and all of the fun things that you want to do in retirement? Once you know the number that covers all of those things, you then have a starting point to estimate how much you need in your portfolio. You take that number and subtract your income that's going to come in from other sources like Social Security income or pension income. That gives you a net amount that has to come from your portfolio. You then divide that net amount by a withdrawal rate. And we're going to use the safe withdrawal rate in this video based on the research done by William Bingen. He came up with the 4% safe withdrawal rate back in the 1990s, and he had calculated that if a retiree took 4% of their portfolio and they had a 30-year retirement, that no matter what of the different economic environments they went through, they were not going to run out of money. They might not have a lot left at the end, or they might have a whole bunch left at the end. It really depended on which environment they went through, but they would not run out of money. And that's why it became called the safe withdrawal rate. Now, Bingen has recently updated that from 4% to 4.7%, so I'm going to use 4.7% in my example. And I do want to walk through an example just to show you how this looks as you walk through calculating it for yourself. And as I do this, I'm going to round all of the numbers off as I'm talking about them, because that's going to make it a whole lot easier to talk about them, but we'll put the more exact number on the screen here so that you can see that. But let's assume that you and your spouse are retiring and you want to spend $240,000 a year to cover everything, including travel and all of the things that you want to do. And you've both worked and you qualify for the maximum Social Security benefit. Well, here in 2026, that maximum benefit, if you're at full retirement age, is about $99,000 a year combined. You both are getting the maximum amount. That would be $99,000 a year combined coming into the house. If you're retiring early at age 62 and you're turning on your Social Security at that point, then that is going to be about $72,000 a year because you're taking Social Security early, so you get a discounted or reduced Social Security amount. Now, if we take that spending of $240,000 and subtract the Social Security amount, it tells us what's that gap that your portfolio would need to cover. At age 62, the $240,000 minus $72,000 of Social Security benefit would be $168,000 that your portfolio has to cover. And if we divide that by 4.7%, then you're going to need $3.5 million, $3.6 million if I round off. At age 67, if we take the $240,000 minus $99,000 of Social Security, then your portfolio would need to cover $140,000. If we take the $140,000 divided by 4.7% safe withdrawal rate, then you would need about $3 million in portfolio value. The difference between the two is about $500,000, and that is because of the point in time that you retire, how many years of retirement you cover, and how much Social Security you get. Now, the trade-off is your time. It's that many more years of working, that many less years of retirement and doing the things you want to do, and that may be a huge trade-off. So you may want to retire earlier, even though you need a little more and your Social Security is a little bit less. Now, a lot of times people take those numbers and say, okay, I've got a number and I'm done. But you're not really done until you look at which accounts are these withdrawal is going to come from, because the account it's going to come from can impact the amount that you actually receive. Let's say that you have all of your money in an IRA. Then all of the money that comes out to you is going to be taxed at ordinary income rates. On the other hand, you could have all of your money in a taxable brokerage account. And in that case, it's going to be taxed at capital gains rates. Those are two different rates. The ordinary income tax rate, let's say that you're in the 22% tax bracket. The capital gains tax rate, let's say that you're in the 15% tax bracket. So 22% taxes versus 15% taxes, that's a big difference. What this works out to when you're pulling money from your account and you're wanting to still have that net amount that we talked about, whether it's $168,000 after taxes have been paid or $140,000 after taxes have been paid. If you have higher taxes to pay, you have to take more out to still have that same net amount. And so minimizing your lifetime taxes obviously is a very important piece of this planning. But let's say that you have all IRA money and you're wanting to have that net $168,000, then the amount you're going to need is $4.6 million to provide enough money to cover the taxes plus give you $168,000. If you have all brokerage account, then the amount you need to have is $3.8 million in order to cover all of the lifetime taxes plus give you $168,000. So those are your age 62 numbers. At age 67, when you need $140,000, if you have all IRA, then it's $3.8 million needed. If you have all brokerage account, then it's $3.2 million needed. Again, there's a pretty big difference between the two because the lifetime taxes is vastly different. If you have all IRAs, you need $721,000 more at age 62, and you need $600,000 more at age 67. That's a pretty big difference. Now, most people don't have all IRA or all taxable brokerage account. I'm using that as an example to show the extreme difference so that you understand the impact that taxes can have. Most people would have a mix and would have some traditional IRA, some taxable brokerage, maybe even some Roth IRA that is tax-free. And with that mix, then you could have a little bit better planning on managing the tax bill over your lifetime. But if you're not yet retired or you're even in the early years of retirement, it can be very important to do this planning to think about how you can improve where your money is located and what that tax bill is going to be. Especially if you're not retired and you have some years before you get to retirement to make an impact, this can make a huge difference on how much you need to have when you reach retirement in order to cover all of your income for the rest of your lifetime. Now, if you have not yet calculated your number, I encourage you, take a minute, estimate your number, and then look at where you have your money saved and where you're putting money away for additional savings, and think about where can you improve your situation so that you are in a better position when you hit retirement and you can reduce the amount of money that you need to have in order to cover all of your expenses in retirement. And if you need some advice around your specific situation, then I recommend you get advice from an advisor who specializes in this topic, in what you need for your situation. And if you're curious about how I work with my clients, you can check me out at www.bestpathadvisors.com. A lot of great information on my website that will let you know what I do, how I do it, who I work with. And if you're interested in having me help you figure out your numbers and figure out how to improve your situation, you can schedule a time to talk while you're there or send me an email at liz@bestpathadvisors.com. I look forward to hearing from you, and I want you to always be on your best path in retirement.